Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadama Yam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapatakalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrijatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneswari Vrisabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhupya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashattare Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Nimanitai Prabhu gave his feedback. I think I need to re-edit my shirt.
What did Prabhu say?
He said I need to find more proper clips, but I don't understand what clips he is talking about.
No, he means that you did a lot to find those clips. That you have put a lot of time to finding those clips.
Oh, really?
That is what he means.
Oh,
that it's
really?
really good, he means.
Oh, I misunderstood him. Oh, okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, don't replace the clips.
Okay, I will delete it. Okay, thank you, bro. Yeah, I read it wrongly. Okay, yeah. You have put it, not you have to put. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Haribol.
Yeah, Haribol.
Okay, so chapter 6. The genealogical table of the family of Krishna. Krishna had 16,108 wives, and in each of them he begot 10 sons, all of them equal to their father in the opulence of strength, beauty, wisdom, fame, wealth, and renunciation. Like father, like son. All the 16,108 wives of Krishna were princesses, and when each saw that Krishna was always present in her respective palace and did not leave home, they considered Krishna to be a henpecked husband who was very much attached to them. Every one of them thought that Krishna was her very obedient husband, but actually, Krishna had no attraction for any of them. Although each thought that she was the only wife of Krishna and was very, very dear to him, Lord Krishna, since he is Atma Rama, self-sufficient, was neither dear nor inimical to any one of them. He was equal to all the wives and treated them as perfect husband just to please them. For him, there was no need for even a single wife. In fact, since they were women, the wives could not understand the exalted position of Krishna nor the truths about him. All the princesses who were wives of Krishna were exquisitely beautiful, and each one of them was attracted by Krishna's eyes, which were just like lotus petals, and by his beautiful face, long arms, broad ears, pleasing smile, humorous talk, and sweet words. Influenced by these features of Krishna, they all used to dress themselves very attractively desiring to attract Krishna by their feminine bodily appeal. They used to exhibit their feminine characteristics by smiling and moving their eyebrows, thus throwing sharpened arrows of conjugal love just to awaken Krishna's dusty desires for them. Still, they could not arouse the mind of Krishna or his sex appetite. This means that Krishna never had any sex relations with any of his many wives, save and except to beget children. The queens of Dwaraka were so fortunate that they got Lord Sri Krishna as their husband and personal companion. Although he is not approachable by exalted demigods like Brahma, they remained together as husband and wife, and Krishna, as an ideal husband, treated them in such a way that at every moment there was an increase of transcendental bliss in their smiling exchanges, talking and mixing together. Each and every wife had hundreds and thousands of maidservants. Yet, when Krishna entered the palace of his thousands of wives, each one of them used to receive Krishna personally by seating him in a nice chair, worshipping him without requisite paraphernalia, personally washing his lotus feet, offering him betel nuts, massaging his legs to relieve them from fatigue, fanning him to make him comfortable, offering all kinds of scented sandalwood pulp, oils, and aromatics, putting flower garlands on his necks, dressing his hair, getting him to lie down on the bed, and assisting him in taking his bath. Thus they served always in every respect, especially when Krishna was eating. They were always engaged in the service of the Lord. Of the 16,108 queens of Krishna, each of whom had 10 sons, there is the following list of the sons of the first 8 queens. By Rukmini, Krishna had 10 sons: Pradyumna, Charudeshna, Sudeshna, Charudeha, Sucharu, Charugupta, Bhatracharu, Charuchandra, Picharu, and Charu. None of them were inferior in their qualities to their divine father, Lord Krishna. Similarly, Satyabhama had 10 sons, and their names are as follows: Banu, Subhanu, Svarbhanu, Prabhanu, Bhanuman, Chandrabhanu, Brihadbhanu, Atibhanu, Sribhanu, and Pratibhanu. The next queen, Jambavati, had 10 sons, headed by Shamba. Their names are as follows: Samba, Sumitra, Purujit, Shatajit, Sahasrajit, Vijaya, Chitraketu, Vasuman, Dravida, and Kratu. Lord Krishna was specifically very affectionate to the sons of Jambavati. By his wife Satya, the daughter of King Nagnajit, Lord Krishna had 10 sons. They are as follows: Veera, Chandra, Ashvasena, Chitragu, Vegavan, Prisha, Ama, Sanku, Vasu, and Kunti. Amongst all of them, Kunti was very powerful. Krishna had 10 sons by Kalindi, and they are as follows: Shruta, Kavi, Vrisha, Veera, Subahu, Bhadra, Shanti, Darsha, Purnamasa, and the youngest, Somaka. For his next wife, Lakshmana, the daughter of the king of Madras province, he begot 10 sons of the names Pragosha, Gatravan, Simha, Bala, Prabala, Urdvaga, Mahashakti, Saha, Ojaya, and Aprajita. Similarly, his next wife, Mitravinda, had 10 sons. They are as follows: Vrika, Harsha, Anila, Krida, Vardhana, Annada, Mahamsa, Pavana, Vani, Vahni, and Kshudi. His next wife, Bhadra, had 10 sons of the names Sangramajit, Brihatsena, Shura, Praharana, Arijit, Jaya, Shubhadra, Vama, Ayu, and Satyaka. Besides these 8 chief queens, Krishna had 16,100 other wives, and all of them had 10 sons each. The eldest son of Rukmini, Pradyumna, was married with Mayavati from his very birth, and afterwards he was again married with Rukmavati, the daughter of his maternal uncle, Rukmi. From this Rukmavati, Pradyumna had a son named Aniruddha. In this way, Krishna's family, Krishna and his wives, along with their sons and grandsons, and even great grandsons, all combined together to include very nearly 1 billion family members. Haribo. Anyone can continue.
Hare Krishna. Rukmi, the elder brother of Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, was greatly harassed and insulted in his fight with Krishna, but on the request of Rukmini, his life was saved. Since the Rukmi had held a great grudge against Krishna and was always inimical toward him, nevertheless his daughter was married with Krishna's son, and his granddaughter was married with Krishna's grandson, Aniruddha. This fact appeared to be a little astonishing to Maharaj Parikshit when he heard it from Shukadeva Goswami. I am surprised that Rukmi and Krishna, who were so greatly inimical to one another, could again be united by marital relationships between of this incident, and therefore he inquired further from Shukadeva Goswami. Because Shukadeva Goswami was a practical yogi, nothing was hidden from his power of insight. A perfect yogi like Shukadeva Goswami can see past, present, and future in all details. Therefore, from such yogis or mystics, there can be nothing concealed. When Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Shukadeva Goswami answered as follows. Pradyumna, the eldest son of Krishna, born of Rukmini, was Cupid himself. He was so beautiful and attractive that the daughter of Rukmi, namely Rukmavati, could not select any husband other than Pradyumna during her Swayamvara. Therefore, in that selection meeting, she garlanded Pradyumna in the presence of all other princes. When there was a fight among the princes, Pradyumna came out victorious, and therefore Rukmi was obliged to offer his beautiful daughter to him. Although a fire of enmity was always blazing in the heart of Rukmi because of his being insulted by Krishna's kidnapping of his sister Rukmini, when his daughter selected Pradyumna as her husband, Rukmi could not resist consisting to the marriage ceremony just to please his sister Rukmini. And so Pradyumna became the nephew of Rukmi. Besides the 10 sons described above, Rukmini had one beautiful daughter with big eyes, and she was married to the son of Kritavarma, whose name was Bali. Although Rukmi was a veritable enemy of Krishna, he had great affection for his sister Rukmini, and he wanted to please her in all respects. On this account, when Rukmini's grandson Aniruddha was to be married, Rukmi offered his granddaughter Rochana to Aniruddha. Such marriage between immediate cousins is not very much sanctioned by the Vedic culture, but in order to please Rukmini, Rukmi offered his daughter and granddaughter to the son and grandson of Krishna. In this way, when the negotiation of the marriage of Aniruddha with Rochana was complete, a big marriage party accompanied Aniruddha and started from Dwaraka. They traveled until they reached Bhojakata, which Rukmi had colonized after his sister had been kidnapped by Krishna. This marriage party was led by the grandfather, namely Lord Krishna, accompanied by Lord Balarama, as well as Krishna's first wife Rukmini, his son Pradyumna, Jambavati's son Samba, and many other relatives and family members. They reached the town of Bodhjakata, and the marriage ceremony was peacefully performed. The king of Kalinga was a friend of Rukmi's, and he gave him the ill advice to play with Balarama and thus defeat him in a bet. Amongst the Kshatriya kings, betting and gambling in chess was not uncommon. If someone challenged a friend to play on the chessboard, the friend could not deny the challenge. Sri Balaramaji was not a very expert chess player, and this was known to the king of Kalinga, so Rukmi was advised to retaliate against the family members of Krishna by challenging Balaram to play chess. Although not a very expert chess player, Sri Balaramaji was very enthusiastic in sporting activities. He accepted the challenge of Rukmi and sat down to play. Betting was with gold coins, and Balarama first of all challenged with 100 coins. then 1,000 coins, then 10,000 coins. Each time Balarama lost, and Rukmi became victorious. Shri Balarama's losing the game was an opportunity for the king of Kalinga to criticize Krishna and Balaram. Thus, the king of Kalinga was talking jokingly and purposefully showing his teeth to Balaram. Because Balarama was the loser in the game, he was a little intolerant of the sarcastic joking words. He became a little agitated, and when Rukmi again challenged Balarama, he made a bet of 100,000 gold coins. Fortunately, this time Balarama won. Although Balaramaji won Rukmi, out of his cunningness began to claim that out of his cunningness began to claim that Balarama was the loser and that he himself had won. Because of this lie, Balaramaji became most angry with Rukmi. His agitation was so sudden and great that it appeared like a tidal wave in the ocean on a full moon day. Balarama's eyes unnaturally reddish, and when he became agitated and angry, his eyes became more reddish. This time he challenged and made a bet of 100 million coins. Again, Balarama was the winner according to the rules of chess, but Rukmi again cunningly began to claim that he had won. Rukmi appealed to the princess, princess present, and he especially mentioned the name of the king of Kalinga. At that time, there was a voice from the air during the dispute, and it announced that for all honest purposes, Balarama, the actual winner of this game, was being abused, and that the statement of Rukmini that he had won was absolutely false. In spite of this divine voice, Rukmi insisted that Balarama had lost, and by his persistence it appeared that he had death upon his head, falsely falsely puffed up by the ill advice of his friend. He did not give much importance to the oracle, and he began to criticize Balaramaji. He said, "My dear Balaramaji, you, two brothers, cowherd boys only, may be very expert in tending cows, but how can you be expert in playing chess or shooting arrows on the battlefield? These arts are well known only to the princely order." Hearing this kind of pinching talk by Rukmi, and hearing the loud laughter of all the other princes present there, Lord Balarama became as agitated as burning cinders. I don't know what it is, cinders. He immediately took a club of his hand and, without any further talk, struck Rukmi on the head. From that one blow, Rukmi fell down immediately and was dead and gone. Thus, Rukmi was killed by. Yes, it's like a piece of. Okay, thank you. Thus, Rukmi was killed by Balarama, and that on that auspicious occasion of Aniruddha's marriage. These things are not very uncommon in Kshatriya society, and the king of Kalinga, being afraid that he would be the next to be attacked, fled from the scene. Before he could escape even a few steps, however, Balaramaji immediately captured him, and because the king was always showing his teeth while criticizing Balarama and Krishna, broke all his teeth with his club. Wow. The other, so cruel. The other princes who were supporting the king of Kalinga and Rukmi were also captured, and Balarama beat them with his club, breaking their legs and hands. They did not try to retaliate, but thought it wise to run away from the bloody scene. Wow. During this strife between Balarama and Rukmi, Lord Krishna did not utter a word, for he knew that if he supported Balarama, Rukmini would be unhappy, and if he said that the killing of Rukmi was unjust, then Balarama would be unhappy. Therefore, Lord Krishna was silent on the death of his brother-in-law Rukmi on the occasion of his grandson's marriage. He did not disturb either his affectionate relationship with Balarama or with Rukmini. After this, the bride and the bridegroom were ceremoniously seated on the chariot, and they started for Dwarka, accompanied by the bridegroom's party. The bridegroom's party was always protected by Lord Krishna, the killer of the Madhu demon. Thus they left Rukmi's kingdom, Bodhakata, and happily started for Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, sixth chapter of Krishna, the genealogical table of the family of Krishna. Haribo.
Haribo. Yes, Balaram just started to beat all of them.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, when you reach the fourth canto, when Shiva also became angry like Balarama and broke, I mean, all the teeth of what was his name? I forgot. Sita's father,
Oh yes.
who offended, who offended Shiva. Yeah,
This was so funny because they were losing and they were acting like they're winning.
yeah.
He
I remember
lost
when I was reading it. Yeah,
yes, so he lost million cold gods and still the other person was showing his teeth like he won.
yeah, yeah. Because they were thinking, what can he understand? Because he is an ordinary cowherd
Yes,
boy.
and he won. Okay, let's read this one also. Yeah, Prabhu, you can also read.
The meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. The meeting of Aniruddha and Usha, which caused a great fight between Lord Krishna and Lord Shiva, is very mysterious and interesting. Maharaja Parikshit was anxious to hear the whole story from Sukadeva Goswami, and thus Sukadeva narrated it. My dear king, you must have heard the name of King Bali. He was a great devotee who gave away in charity all that he had, namely the whole world, to Lord Vamana, the incarnation of Vishnu, as a dwarf Brahmana. King Bali had 100 sons, and the eldest of all of them was Banasura. This great hero, Banasura, born of Maharaja Bali, was a great devotee of Lord Shiva and was always ready to render service unto him. Because of his devotion, he achieved a great position in society and he was honored in every respect. Actually, he was very intelligent and liberal also, and his activities are all praiseworthy because he never deviated from his promise and word of honor. He was very truthful and fixed in his vow. In those days, he was ruling over the city of Shonitapura. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Banasura had 1,000 hands, and he became so powerful that even demigods like King Indra were serving him as most obedient servants. Long ago, when Lord Shiva was dancing in his celebrated fashion called Tandavan Nritya, for which he is known as Nataraja, Banasura helped Lord Shiva in his dancing by rhythmically beating drums with his 1,000 hands. Lord Shiva is well known as Ashutosa, very easily pleased, and he is also very affectionate to his devotees. He is a great protector of all persons who take shelter of him and is the master of all living entities in this material world. Being pleased with Banasura, he said, whatever you desire, you can have from me, because I am very much pleased with you. Banasura replied, my dear lord, if you please, you can remain in my city just to protect me from the hands of my enemies. Once upon a time, Banasura came to offer his respects to Lord Shiva. By touching the lotus feet of Lord Shiva with his helmet, which was shining like the sun globe, he offered his obeisances unto him. While offering his respectful obeisances, Banasura said, my dear lord, anyone who has not fulfilled his ambition will be able to do so by taking shelter of your lotus feet, which are just like desire trees. One can take from them anything he desires. My dear lord, you have given me 1,000 arms, but I do not know what to do with them. Please pardon me, but it appears that I cannot use them properly in fighting. I cannot find anyone competent to fight with me except your lordship, the original father of the material world. Sometimes I feel a great tendency to fight with my arms, and I go out to find a suitable warrior. Unfortunately, everyone flees, knowing my extraordinary power. Being baffled at not finding a match, I simply satisfy the itching of my arms by beating them against the mountains. In this way, I tear many great mountains to pieces. Lord Shiva realized that his benediction had become troublesome for Banasura and addressed him. You rascal, you are very eager to fight, but since you have no one to fight with, you are distressed. Although you think that there is no one in the world to oppose you except me, I say that you will eventually find such a competent person. At that time, your days will come to an end, and your flag of victory will no longer fly. Then you will see your false prestige smashed to pieces. After hearing Lord Shiva's statement, Banasura became very puffed up with his power. He was elated that he would meet someone who would be able to smash him to pieces. Banasura then returned home with great pleasure, and he always waited for the day when the suitable fighter would come to cut down his strength. He was such a foolish demon. It appears that foolish, demonic human beings, when unnecessarily overpowered with material opulences, want to exhibit these opulences, and such foolish people feel satisfaction when these opulences are exhausted. The idea is that they do not know how to expend their energy for right causes, being unaware of the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Actually, there are two classes of men. One is Krishna conscious, the other is non-Krishna conscious. The non-Krishna conscious men are generally devoted to the demigods, whereas the Krishna conscious men are devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for the service of the Lord. The non-Krishna conscious persons utilize everything for sense gratification. Gratification, I'm sorry. And Banasura is a perfect example of such a person. He was very anxious to utilize for his own satisfaction his extraordinary power to fight. Not finding any combatant, he struck his powerful hands against the mountains, breaking them into pieces. In contrast to this, Arjuna also possessed extraordinary powers for fighting, but he utilized them only for Krishna. Banasura had a very beautiful daughter whose name was Usha. When she had attained the age of marriage and was sleeping amongst her many girlfriends, she dreamed one night that Aniruddha was by her side and that she was enjoying a conjugal relationship with him, although she had never actually seen him nor heard of him before. She awoke from her dream, exclaiming very loudly, "My dear beloved, where are you?" Being exposed to her other friends in this way, she became a little bit ashamed. One of Usha's girlfriends was Chitralekha, who was the daughter of Banasura's prime minister. Chitralekha and Usha were intimate friends, and out of great curiosity, Chitralekha asked, "My dear beautiful princess, as of yet you are not married to any young boy, nor have you seen any boys until now, so I am surprised that you are exclaiming like this. Who are you searching after? Who is your suitable match?" On hearing Chitralekha's inquiries, Yusha replied, "My dear friend, in my dream I saw a nice young man who is very, very beautiful. His complexion is swarthy. His eyes are just like lotus petals, and he is dressed in yellow garments. His arms are very long, and his general bodily features are so pleasing that any young girl would be attracted. I feel much pride in saying that this beautiful young man was kissing me, and I was very much enjoying the nectar of his kissing. I'm sorry to inform you that just after this he disappeared, and I have been thrown into the world. Sorry about my pronunciation, whirlpool of disappointment. My dear friend, I am very anxious to find this wonderful young man, the desired lord of my heart." After hearing Usha's words, Chitralekha immediately replied, "I can understand your bereavement, and I assure you that if this boy is within these three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems, I must find him for your satisfaction. If you can identify him from your dream, I shall bring you peace of mind. Now let me draw some pictures for you to inspect, and as soon as you find the picture of your desired husband, let me know. It doesn't matter where he is, I know the art of bringing him here. So as soon as you identify him, I shall immediately arrange for it." Chitralekha, while talking, began to draw many pictures of the demigods inhabiting the higher planetary systems, then pictures of the Gandharvas, Siddhas, Charanas, Pannagas, Daityas, Vidyadharas, and Yakshas, as well as many human beings. The statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literature prove definitely that on each and every planet there are living entities of different varieties. Therefore, it is foolish to assert that there are no living entities but those on this earth. Chitralekha painted many pictures. Among those of the human beings was the Vrishni dynasty, including Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, Shurasena, the grandfather of Krishna, Sri Balaramaji, Lord Krishna, and many others. When Usha saw the picture of Pradyumna, she became a little bashful, but when she saw the picture of Aniruddha, she became so bashful that she immediately lowered her head and smiled, having found the man she was seeking. She identified the picture of Chitralekha as that of the man who had stolen her heart. Chitralekha was a great mystic yogini, and as soon as Usha identified the picture, although neither of them had ever seen him nor knew his name, Chitralekha could immediately understand that the picture was of Aniruddha, a grandson of Krishna. That very night she traveled in outer space and within a very short time reached the city of Dwaraka, which was well protected by Krishna. She entered the palace and found Aniruddha sleeping in his bedroom on a very opulent bed. Chitralekha, by her mystic power, immediately brought Aniruddha in the sleeping condition to the city of Shonitapura so that Usha might see her desired husband. Usha immediately bloomed in happiness and began to enjoy the company of Aniruddha with great satisfaction. The palace in which Usha and Chitralekha lived was so well fortified that it was impossible for any male to either enter or see inside. Usha and Aniruddha lived together in the palace, and day after day the love of Usha for Aniruddha grew 4 times upon 4 times. Usha pleased Aniruddha with her valuable dresses, flowers, garlands, scents, and incense. By his bedside, sitting place were other paraphernalia for residential purposes, nice drinks such as milk and sherbet, and nice eatables which could be chewed or swallowed. Above all, she pleased him with sweet words and very obliging service. Aniruddha was worshipped by Usha as if he were the supreme personality of Godhead. By her excellent service, Usha made Aniruddha forget all other things and was able to draw his attention and love upon her without deviation. In such an atmosphere of love and service, Aniruddha practically forgot himself and could not recall how many days he had been away from his real home. In due course of time, Usha exhibited some bodily symptoms by which it could be understood that she was having intercourse with a male friend. The symptoms were so prominent that her actions could no longer be concealed from anyone. Usha was always cheerful in the association of Aniruddha, but she did not know the bounds of her satisfaction. The housekeeper and the watchman of the palace could guess very easily that she was having relations with a male friend, and without waiting for further development, all of them informed their master, Panasura. In Vedic culture, an unmarried girl having association with a male is the greatest disgrace to the family, and so the caretaker cautiously informed his master that Usha was developing symptoms indicating a disgraceful association. The servants informed their master that they were not at all neglectful in guarding the house, being alert day and night against any young man who might enter. They were so careful that a male could not even see what was going on there, and so they were surprised that she had become contaminated. Since they could not trace out the reason for it, they submitted the whole situation before their master. Hare Krishna, someone can continue. Thank you, Prabhu.
Banasura was shocked to understand that his daughter Usha was no longer a virgin maiden. This weighed heavily on his heart, and without delay he rushed towards his palace where Usha was living. There he saw that Usha and Aniruddha were sitting together and talking. Usha and Aniruddha looked very beautiful together. Aniruddha being the son of Pradyumna, who was Cupid himself, Manasur saw his daughter and Aniruddha as a suitable match. Yet, for family prestige, he did not like the combination at all. Manasar could not understand who the boy actually was. He appreciated the fact that Usha could not have selected anyone in the three worlds more beautiful. Aniruddha's complexion was brilliant and swarthy. He was dressed in a yellow garment and his eyes just like lotus petals. His arms were very long and he had nice curly bluish hair. The garland lace of his glittering earrings and the beautiful smile on his lips were certainly captivating. Still, Banasura was very angry. When Banasur saw him, Aniruddha was engaged in playing with Usha and Aniruddha was nicely dressed, and Usha had garlanded him with various beautiful flowers. The reddish kumkum powder on the breast of woman was spotted here and there on the garland, indicating that Usha had embraced him. Banasur was struck with wonder that even in his presence Anirudh was peacefully sitting in front of Usha. Anirudh knew, however, that his would-be father-in-law was not at all peace and he was gathering many soldiers in the palace to attack him. Thus, not finding any other weapon, Aniruddha took hold of big iron rod and stood up before Banasur and his uh, soldiers. He firmly took a posture indicating that if he were attacked, he would strike all of the soldiers down to the ground with the iron rod. Banasur and his company of soldiers saw that the boy was standing before them just like superintendent of death with his invincible rod. Now, under the order of Banasur, the soldiers from all sides attempted to capture him and arrest him. When they dared to come before him, Aniruddha struck them with a rod, taking all their heads, legs, arms, and thighs, and one after another they began to fall down to the ground. He killed them just like leader of a flock of hawk kills barking dogs one after another. In this way, Anuruddha was able to escape the palace. Banasur knew that various arts of fighting by the grace of Lord Shiva. He knew how to arrest his opposing enemy by the use of Nagapash, snake nose, and so Anuruddha was seized as he came out of the palace. When Usha received the news that her father had arrested Anuruddha, she became overwhelmed with grief and confusion. Tears began to glide down her eyes, and unable being unable to check herself, she began to cry very loudly. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second volume, seventh chapter of Krishna, the meeting of Usha and Aniruddha. That's too fast.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for reading. The next chapter is too long, so we will read that tomorrow. Now let's go to six Astakam prayers. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagninirvapanam shreyah kairavachantrika vitaranam vidyavadu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam param vichayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam.
नामकारि बहुधानि सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशमिहाजिनिनानुरागः
ऋणादभीषु नीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानि नमामदेन कीर्तनेन सदहरि न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितं वा जगदीश ईशकामयं जन्मनि जन्मनि जन्मेश्वरि भवतद्भक्तिरहितकृत
Ayi Nandatanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vichame Bhavam Budau Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrasam Vichintaya.
नयनं गलदश्रुधहारया वदनं गद्गदारुधया गिरा पुलाकैर्निचितां वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति.
युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रविश्यायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्द विरहेण मे. आश्लिष्य वा पादरतं पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतं करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातु लम्पतो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः. Translation.
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your name can alone render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. They are not even hard and fast rules present in these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enabled us to easily approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separations, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all I can in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. हरि बोल श्री शिक्षस्तकम की जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय पंचतत्व की जय
Jai,
नित्यानंद प्रभु की
Jai,
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु
Jai,
की जय जगत गुरु श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपद की जय जय
Jai.
प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल